It is Thursday, February 20th, 2025, and it is 12:45. And we're here to discuss the FTA Drug and Alcohol Conference with the Grants Administrator. And I will turn it over to Colleen Rosen, our Grants Administrator.
So this came up just last week in the conversations with Idaho Department of Transportation, who is our funder for the bus system. When we took the bus on, then it became a part of our requirements to monitor the DOT drug and alcohol testing, which we've been able to do. I've been working with Stephanie down in Public Works, and that was kind of the direction that was we assumed that it needed to go, was to put it through the county drug and alcohol testing. What I'm finding, which came from an invite from ITD about a week and a half ago, is that they report through a different system. I think it all still ties to the FCSMA, which I couldn't tell you what that is, but it's the Federal Drug and Alcohol Reporting for DOT, CDL, all of that kind of licensing that you have requirements for. My reporting actually goes through DAMUS, and so ITD has basically, and one of the reporting or testing centers has designated me as the designated employee representative or employer representative, so the DER. So I'm the one that receives all the confidential information and maintains those records for our drug and alcohol testing for the drivers. Our drivers are non-CDL, but it's still as a transportation or safety sensitive employee and have to go through the drug and alcohol testing. So thankfully, because it'll be less work on Stephanie, I now have a different avenue to do the reporting for the bus system, which takes a huge load off of her plate in the way that they have to do those. I'll maintain those records and make sure that that's done. In the conversations this last week with the quarterly call with ITD, Shauna had said, we need you to go to the FTA conference in March. Now, me being, we'd like you to go. It's not a requisite. They're not going to give us any grief if I don't go. But she also said, apply for the RTAP scholarship, which is, I don't know what the acronym is, but it's a nationwide transportation group that funds education and will pay for the transportation, lodging. The conference is free, and make sure that I get there, get back, and have all the training that is needed to maintain the drug and alcohol program for the transit system.
So did you apply?
Mm-hmm. Oh. So I've got it put together, but I wanted to make sure that you guys were okay with that.
And I think where we're rubbing up against is you having to shift over to the bus department, the bus deal, because you're our grant administrator. Mm-hmm. One of the things I'm looking at is we don't have anybody on our bus, because our bus manager can't go because of the fact that nobody will be here to fill her spot when she's gone, right? Is that kind of basically
logistically, I think
it's impossible.
It would be a hardship to be able to get the scheduling and things done. Mm-hmm. But it's a conversation that I can have if she's able to do that, if she feels like she can. She also has a baby.
Okay.
And that could be, I've got fur babies, but I've already got lodging ready for them if that's something that you guys have heard.
That was my only concern is pulling you off your grant duties and putting you in another position, which is really the bus. It would really be her, but I did think about that a little bit, and who would replace her if we're gone for a week.
The other conversation with this is, depending on how this goes, having that knowledge in-house and having that set up through the county. Again, that was part of the chaos that happened when we went from that operator to the county. Mm-hmm. Is everything had kind of been hands off with the county, and so trying to transition that, it in my opinion, and this would be definitely something for you guys to consider, is there was a whole lot that we couldn't do, and that's part of the concerns that has come up with trying to track down the previous records. Is where are they? They've disappeared. So there's a lot of, I did this and I gave them to that person, but nobody can find them. And so thankfully the tester, the testing center, has agreed to give me those records because I have a report that's due at the end of this month for that. Now that can be a part of the grants administrator, or that can be shifted off easy enough to the manager, however this ends up going. ITD did confirm that she is still trying to get that. She's in conversations with FTA to get that funding so that we can finish that study. It's been dragging its feet. So, I'm preparing for things whether or not we keep it in-house or going forward.
Okay.
It goes out to an operator. So that's kind of all where that is. But right now, they're, as county employees, they need to be tracked as county employees. And we're still going forward with the testing that needs to be done, and we're good with all of that.
Okay.
And it was a suggestion from
Okay.
ITD, and they would fund it. It was not a you go or we're pulling funding.
But they need to have those tests, and we need to have somebody here that collects those tests and keeps them.
It's not the tests itself. So we send them to either Absolute, or there's a company that they've been going to out of, I can't remember the name of that off the top of my head, out of Coeur d'Alene is where they had been going through Northwest Transfer. So we don't have to worry about any of that testing. What it is having those records available and doing the reports and following up with anything, positives, or being that contact for the confidential testing information, where that gets housed, and then reporting that to the DAMA system for ITD. So it's really just the compliance is all I'm doing. It's not the actual testing, none of that. But understanding FTA funding. So FTA has that, and that's some of the things I've been working out with Stephanie is FTA has a smidge different than like DOT. And so the Federal Transit Administration is one that is overseeing all of transportation. Transportation is just that little bit different from Public Works or CDL licensing.
Okay.
Because you've got people carrying rather than cargo carrying. And so we don't require the CDLs, which puts it into a different one, but there's still some of those drug and alcohol requirements like you have with CDLs.
Okay. All right.
So this will just,
and this is going to be paid by a grant, right?
Yeah, RTAP, it's a scholarship. And I'll pay for everything, and then they'll reimburse me, so it never has to go through the county. So there's no potential even for the county to have to pay for any of this.
Okay.
It would just be, and I'm mobile, so I'll be working while I'm over there, and so it's not.
Okay, yeah, you'll be working both. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, my primary is grants administrator, but also, part of the administration of this grant is making sure the compliance is done. And so that's always a part of the grants is what's your compliance looking like.
Okay. All right.
How long is the conference?
3 days, but it's long flights. So it's 2 days of travel. Because it's like 8, the shortest I could find was like an 8-hour flight each direction.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I'm not excited, but I'll do it because it needs to happen. But
Any questions or comments?
Are you ready for a motion?
Yeah.
I would motion we approve the use of grant funding to cover the costs for Colleen to attend the drug and alcohol conference.
Okay. That she's going to go out and get
The grant.
Yep.
Yeah. That we approve it contingent on those funds being used to pay for it.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Uh,
Aye. Okay. Motion carried. Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, are we using our drug counselor to do the drug testing?
she doesn't do drug testing. That's a different service. She does counseling. She doesn't do testing. Probation does the testing.
Okay, are we using them?
Yeah.
At what?
They're not CDL certified. You cannot use them for the driver's license for the CDLs.
That was one of the selling points with the drug counselor up there. Is there she was going to be, or he? I've never met the person, so I don't know. Mm-hmm. They were going to be able to do the drug testing for us, drug and alcohol. No,
that wasn't ever part of that conversation for the counselor. She was doing the counseling for drug and alcohol and helping with assessments and those, but she's not able to do those. And probation can only do the regular drug and alcohol screenings. They cannot do CDL screenings.
And that's how they were going to start paying for her, is through...
not testing, through counseling.
Okay, well, look.
Okay. Anything further?
I think what you're saying reminds me of a discussion we had about the service that Mike's office was using, but yeah.
So that was a conversation during the grant, is being able to bring the drug testing in-house and having Absolute set up. But the grant wasn't paying for that, so we couldn't do the remodels that would allow Absolute to come in and have an office here to do those drug testing.
Yeah.
So it was never the counselor, and they ended up, that was kiboshed from the grant because we couldn't do the remodels that would allow for a drug testing company to do those tests in-house.
Yeah,
So Mike does them and they send them out.
But I remember Deb was gone, she did the testing, or he, whoever it is, and then it was sent out to a testing lab, and that was gonna save us money to pay for that position when the grant was gone for that job.
But that job has to be funded through other means, so we're doing that through private insurance.
Well, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thanks.